Hello, cruel, cruel world. This video is all about the Amber Heard fecal fiasco. My name is Dr. 𝐂𝐿𝐲𝐚 Das. I'm a consultant forensic psychiatrist. I assess mentally disordered offenders for a living so that you don't have to. You can call me the ominous 𝐂𝐿𝐲𝐻. So this case, this whole trial, the defamation between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, just like your little brother, it will not leave me alone. It will not go away. It's always kind of buzzing around. I'm making this video because several people have asked me in the comment section to kind of explain from a psychiatric perspective what I think was going on with the whole 𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐂𝐍 incident. So you probably know what I'm talking about, but in case you don't, here's a 1-minute summary. In April 2016, when both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were at their LA penthouse, they had a big argument because Johnny Depp was late, a couple of hours late for Amber Heard's 30th birthday party. So she allegedly pooped in their shared bed. And I should say that she actually denies doing that. And she said that it was actually the dog. But then Johnny Depp said during the trial that this was not true because the poop was apparently too big. Even speaking this stuff out loud makes me reflect on how ridiculous the whole situation was. Johnny Depp didn't actually see it, but was shown a picture of it by a housekeeper who told him to stay away. So what is this video about? Well, I've previously talked about the fact that Amber Heard has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what I think of the whole Poopgate incident, what I think happened, or the possibilities of what happened, whether it fits in with the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. So that's kind of the psychiatric aspect of this video. And what I mean by that is, can this behavior be explained by that personality disorder? And also on a broader level, what do I think about Amber Heard being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which I've gone into in more detail in a previous video. Okay, let's get started. So what do I think happened? I think there's a few possibilities. As I said, she denied it, but assuming that she did actually do this, she did actually poop on the bed. One thing could be that it was simply a joke. So what I mean by that is she didn't particularly want to hurt Johnny Depp's feelings or, offend him in any way. She just thought of it as a wild and wacky thing to do. They have a pretty lavish, exciting, wild lifestyle. So it's just something to, not to make him laugh, but just to get his attention to a degree, but without any malice. That's one possibility, especially considering that both of them are substance users. Maybe she was a bit intoxicated, a bit disinhibited at the time. Number two is kind of a more extreme version of that, which is that she did it for his attention, but she did it to make a point to him, to try and, so a bit more maliciously, like in terms of the power dynamic, just to get through to him. He's this big Hollywood star. I mean, she is as well, but he's more high profile. He's possibly a bit too cool for school. So to win an argument, I guess is what I'm saying, to show that she's got the final word in the argument. That's possibility number two. Possibility number three is, like, again, a more extreme version of that, which is that she intentionally wanted to either threaten him or insult him or hurt his feelings. So it's kind of an extension of wanting to get his attention, but with the specific intention to offend him. I suppose there are much unlikelier possibilities. Number four would be that it was simply flatulence that went wrong. Not that I've got any experience with that. Any rumours you might have heard are categorically not true. Or I suppose a very long stretch, number five, it was some sort of romantic gesture that was massively misjudged. Again, I know nothing about that. All rumours are false. So here's the interesting bit, the psychological bit. If it was done for attention and if it was done to hurt his feelings, would this behaviour be typical of somebody with borderline personality disorder? Well, let's look at the features of borderline personality disorder. So I've discussed these in previous videos. Typically, somebody with borderline, also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder, has very unpredictable and unstable moods. And they also have a shallow affect. So what that means is they're never fully quite happy. They're often quite irritable. Even when they feel pleasure or contentness, is quite transient. And they're unstable in their moods and in their behaviors as well. They're quite impulsive and they tend to have these really unstable and chaotic and traumatic and turbulent relationships. So they often blow up, have these huge arguments, really lose their temper, shout at their partner, possibly get into fights. So yeah, absolutely, pooping in somebody's bed would be typical of this kind of behavior. They tend to have mood swings and they tend to be quite impulsive. And again, all of this is typical in borderline. There are other kind of features that are not relevant to pooping in one's bed, such as self-harm, self-destruction, taking alcohol and drugs. Again, that's not really relevant in this context, but I'm just sort of giving you a picture of what borderline is. As a side note, it's quite fair that some people with borderline might find the diagnosis or the concept of a personality disorder as being quite offensive because it labels them. That's a whole different topic. I'm not talking about that. I've done a video on that. I'll put the links in the description if you want to know about my opinions on that, but I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the actual diagnosis itself. As another side note, when I see people that have committed violence or have offended, so I assess mentally disordered offenders for a living, as I keep saying, it tends to be, with borderline people, it's not intentional. So if you've got somebody who, for example, has antisocial personality disorder, they're aggressive, they're impulsive, they don't care about the rights and the rights of other people, they don't care about the law, so they intentionally commit violence, or they intentionally do something to really hurt somebody's feelings, or just for monetary gain, like a robbery. Whereas somebody with borderline, they tend to explode and they lose control. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that antisocial personality disorders is in their control and they do it intentionally. Somebody with borderline does something like this, violence, lashes out, gets drunk and makes an arse of themselves, poops in a bed. They don't do it. They do it out of impulsivity rather than intentional, and then afterwards they regret it. Okay, so I think another important point is, does Amber Heard have borderline personality disorder? Well, she was diagnosed by an expert witness, I believe it was Dr. Shannon Curry, as having borderline personality disorder. Did I get that right or wrong? Apologies, I'm getting mixed up with my expert witnesses in this case. And I made this point in a previous video, but I think it's fair to say that there's something cynical and possibly inaccurate or misleading about diagnosing somebody during a court case, because when you're diagnosing somebody with a personality disorder in the community for treatment or for support, then you're looking objectively at those symptoms because that person presumably wants help for those symptoms. The help could be medication to help with low mood, or more importantly, it could be in-depth therapy to try and help them resolve their problems and their patterns of behavior. Whereas if you're doing it in a court case like this, if you're cynical, which I am, you could suspect that it actually helps Johnny Depp's case by labeling Amber Heard as borderline, because it makes her seem sort of really unpredictable and chaotic and potentially violent. So I guess the point I'm trying to make in a rambling way is that, is it fair to rely on this diagnosis if it's made to try and discredit somebody rather to try and help them clinically? And the other point that I think is only fair to say is that even though it's quite clear that Amber Heard seems to be copping a lot of flack from the public, everybody or most people seem to be siding on Johnny Depp's side, a lot of it is hearsay. So we don't know for a fact about a lot of this stuff that's happened. Some of it's been proven, some of it has been his word against hers. So I guess we have to take everything with a pinch of salt. You can't just assume that what either one of them is saying is truth, if that makes sense. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a bit of an insight into a kind of psychiatric diagnosis and of assessment of this kind of behavior. And I hope, like me over the years, I've got very low tolerance for Hollywood actresses pooping in my bed. I hope you feel the same. The last thing I wanted to say is I think we need a name for this whole scandal. So I called it the fecal fiasco, poopgate, sensationalist soiling, the very least terrible feng shui. Or my particular favourite, I can't believe it's not butt turd. If you can think of a better name of this whole situation than that, then you're a cleverer person than I. Please let me know in the schmomment schmection below. That's all I have to say. Have a blessed day, stay 𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐂𝐍, and please do not forget, I love you.